"What game are you playing, my child?" the Stellarin asked, as he walked to the boy playing in the outdoor sun. Despite his great age, several centuries by human reckoning, suns and moons curse that race. His lithe form echoed that of his youthful son, an elegant economy of motion evident in every movement. "I'm playing war, father," the boy said with unbridled enthusiasm, wielding his toy sword with an agile grace that the greatest human acrobats would envy. "One day, when I am old enough, I shall join the League of Warriors and make war against the foul humans as you did, father. And this time, we shall push them out from the rim worlds once and for all." At his son's words, the elder Stellarin felt his knees give way underneath him, and a lump catch in his throat as terror's icy hands gripped his heart. "Father?" the younger asked, seeing his father stagger. "What's wrong? Shall I call the—" "Sit down, my son. Would you like me to tell you a story about my days fighting the humans, all those long centuries ago, before I met your mother, before I had you? A true story, unlike the ones the Grand Council tell." But father, the Council tells of great victories, of valiant actions by our warriors, and great strikes against humans." "They're lies, my dear son," the elder said flatly. Ignoring the look of disbelief on his son's face, he continued, "Lies that I, too, once believed. The Council tells us that the humans started the war, that their race wished to complete what they started when they drove us, the Duerfin and the Uruk, off the homeworld, and they did so by attacking Vilsan, Gilia, and Terinial. The Council tells of valiant last stands, heroic actions, and a final assault against the rampaging humans that drove them off our worlds, did they not? I told you, my child, they are lies. In truth, we began the war. Vilsan, Gilia, and Terinial were the worlds where we gathered our troops. I myself was born on Terinial. You should have seen us, my child. 20,000 of our world's finest, standing arrayed with gleaming armor, protected by the finest force fields, armed with lancer blade and fission bows. We knew that we would later be joined by 50,000 more warriors from Vilsan and Gilia's leagues. Our first and only target was the human world of Lee's world. We mocked the name, mocked the humans' lack of creativity, and we thought it a simple enough matter to throw them off the world and claim it for our own. We had superior technology, and no race travels faster in space, in the sky, or on the ground than we. We landed and struck suddenly, taking the token garrison entirely by surprise. It was a sparsely settled world, and after a week we had thought the world pacified. We were wrong. My child, did you know that every human is willing to fight? Not just their nobles, but their shopkeepers, their farmers, their road workers, their scientists. All were ready and capable of learning the arts of war. We found that it was unsettling, that despite or perhaps because of their short lives, they are capable of learning so much in so short a time. How long did it take for you to learn the art of the warrior, my child? 10 years? 20? What if I told you that a human child needs but a week to become a passable, if not fully competent warrior? What if I told you that human design philosophies ensured that their weapons and war equipment were focused not to killing power, but on ease of use, so that anyone might wage war on their race's behalf? You are 90 years old by human reckoning, and yet you are just learning to use your sword. Even with the regenerative technology the humans use, you would be considered old, and yet by this age, a human conceivably be able to lead an army. Trained properly, a human a third your age would be able to fight toe-to-toe with a savage Uruk. Not only that, but a human is capable of bearing more than one child at once. And in some human societies, such an achievement is lauded, even encouraged. I know it is hard to believe, but that is the reality of it. The human assault came soon after those 2 months. A massive fleet, yet a fraction of their entire imperial forces, soon emerged into space above us and immediately began landing troops. My child, have you seen a human drop army deploying? Ship after ship dropping soldiers on rocket packs, raining armies from above. For so long our masters have had the techno-sorcery of teleportation. We simply didn't consider humans, with their absolute lack of magic, would resort to such methods to deploy their armies. And while our masters and captains teleported to wherever they were needed most, there were simply too many humans in too many places to fight. Oh yes, that's right, my child. Too many humans. Not even 70,000 warriors could fight them. It sounds unbelievable only to those who have never faced a human army. Tell me, how many soldiers do you think they dropped? No, not 100,000. 200,000? No, my child. Guess again. We would have defeated them even if they had landed that many. My child, enough guessing, I'll tell you. They landed over 6 million soldiers on Lee's world that day. How do I know? Let me finish the story. Our army was destroyed the day they landed. Warriors, who I had trained alongside and fought side by side for more than 100 years, were cut down in a storm of war. The human lasers were so numerous I saw many of our soldiers obliterated in what seemed to my eyes a wall of light. A single laser would have caused our shields to merely flicker, but 100 would demolish both it and its wearer. Human artillery never stopped thundering, and for each human we killed it seemed like 100 would take his place. We Stellarin are trained to face enemies in single combat, each of us, but not even the greatest avatar of war can defend all sides at once. The humans don't understand our concept of honorable combat. Seeing one-on-one battles between equals is foolish. Instead, they struck at our supply lines, poisoned our food and drink, broadcast loud propaganda at night to disrupt our rest, let loose vermin that carried plagues their bodies could withstand, and we could not. And when all that was done, take potshots from afar at us with snipers and drones. Only when we were truly weakened did their assaults come. We did not force the humans off our worlds, my son. They forced us off theirs. They proceeded to bomb, then raze Vilsan, Gilia, and Terinial, while they ignored our entreaties for peace. They burned the world trees of each world, rendering each world magicless for centuries to come. The valiant struggles by our warriors to chase them off, they were almost all failures. Our only victories came from attacks on isolated supply stations and minor supply line raids, victories that the Council milked for all they were worth. In the end, only after their appetite for vengeance was settled did the humans leave. Bought off, yes, bought off by the Council, with techno-sorceress secrets and slaves. Don't believe me? I was held imprisoned after the assault, one of only a few hundred of our forces sent to war. I met your mother in that prison, you know. A galleon. She outranked me. But in there, we were all equals. You and she are the only good things that came from that war, and I thanks the stars and moons every day that I was so blessed. We were released and walked through the holds of the human transports so that we could see who we made war with and the cost of doing so, and thus bring the news back to our worlds. I saw holds brimming with Stellarin treasures, weapons and slaves, troop transports each carrying more soldiers than the forces we sent to Lee's world. You know how those who boast tend to exaggerate their accomplishments? Our warden, the commander of the human forces, was telling us about the troops he brought, and the number I arrived at, 6 million, was one I came up with after I downgraded his own words. I refuse to believe that even among the humans, they could somehow come up with more than 20 million soldiers to bring to a single world. But in any case, my son, dear heart, set your sight on other things beside the humans. Wage war against the Uruk, or the Duerfin, or the cursed Ilthidim, or the warrior breeds of the Chkan hives for those wars, those we might win. Anything than those accursed humans.